So this is where we left off in the previous video. I know this doesn't look very nice, but just to quickly recap what we went through in the previous video is that we've understood, hopefully, or I tried my best to explain why this line here is problematic and why this line apparently doesn't cause any bugs, because this is obviously a bug. And to go once again through what happens, maybe this time I'll try a different approach for the recap. So I'm going to clear some things here. Okay, maybe I should have done that offline, but anyways, so I'm going to try a different approach now. So what happens essentially? So what's very important to understand or to keep in mind is that, first of all, by calling this run all timers, this one here, by calling this, what happens is that all fake timers callbacks are invoked, which means that in our concrete scenario all promises will resolve, and this resolve is very important. The fact that the promises are resolved is very important because when you add the .then, to my understanding, the callback that you provide to .then will be added to the Microtask queue, which again will be invoked or will be run through at the end of the current tick. So will resolve. Let me also underline this because it is very important. Okay, so this is what happens here at step 1. Then it is invoking then the step 2 is to invoke my promise all. At this point, then let's call them then callbacks will be added to the Microtask queue. And with that, let's also move this a bit further so that it doesn't distract us. So at step 2, by calling promise that all, we will have some then callbacks added to the Microtask queue, and the order in which they are added is this one. So we are now bringing back the Microtask queue. And once again, what I want to highlight is that it isn't important the order in which the timers have been resolved, because vtest will take the timers in the right order, which means hello will be resolved first and by second, but it doesn't matter in which they are resolved because we are calling this before my promise all, which means when my promise all will iterate to the promises, which is this part here, when my promise all will iterate to them, all of them will already be resolved. So when adding .then, the Microtask queue will receive a new callback, and this is why we have this order, because we are iterating through them by the order we have provided them. So the problem with this line is that it will resolve all of the promises just before iterating through them. And lastly, the assertion will also add expect assertion will add a new callback to the Microtask Queue, which is this one here. And this happens thirdly. So this should explain why this although we have this problem here, which is very serious, this one, or this entire check, although we have this, which again it will resolve when hello will resolve, but when bar resolve or when bar will resolve, it is okay because the expect callback will be added at the end. So bar is before the expect callback in the queue, and that's why when invoking bar, we'll have values being pushed to, and that's why expect callback will actually have 4 values, because the bar's callback is invoked before the expect callback. So this was a small recap. What I want to do in this part of this video is to see what happens first of all if I move this line here. Let's say if I add it at the end. So at this point we are facing a different situation. We are not resolving the promises before iterating through them, but we will resolve the promises after after the then callbacks or after the then functions have been added. It's very important to mention that when adding a .then to a promise, that callback won't be added immediately to the microtask queue. It will be added immediately because that promise is already resolved. This implies that, or at least to my understanding, that although you might have an unresolved promise, by adding .then to it, you won't actually have a new callback added to the microtask queue. You will have that callback added to the microtask queue when that promise resolves. So at this point, by adding this line after the assertion, we will ensure that first of all the promises will be resolved, let's say in an expected manner, because by calling this before running all timers, we will have added the then to each promise, which means that when the microtask queue will be invoked, we will have the right order, because at this point when we run all timers, we have only 2 promises resolved, and those are promise.foo and promise resolved at bar. By running this one here, we will have this one being resolved and this one being resolved afterwards. So the microtask queue with this call, so the microtask queue so the microtask queue will look a bit different now. It will have foo bar, because bar has a promise resolve here. I should have maybe taken this too. So we have foo first, bar, because those are resolved already. Now calling run all timers will cause the other promises, which are these 2, to be resolved as well, these 2. So by running run all timers, we'll first resolve hello, so that's why we have hello on the 3rd place, and lastly we will have bye. And then we will have the callback here that will be added, not because we have called, or so once again this entire line will also add a dot then to our promise, to my promise at all, but this callback won't be invoked until until my promise all will resolve. So this expect callback will be called when, in this case, when hello will be resolved, because we still have that bug here. And the fact that we have 4 values is again due to the fact that the callback that corresponds to by is called before the expected callback. It's basically a matter of the way you schedule microtask, or the way you schedule callbacks in the microtask queue. So to show you that, let's run the test again, and we should see 4 values, but not in the right order. So we have foo_bar hello by, foo_bar hello by, but the order that we expect is foo by hello bar. So the other bug that I want to highlight now is that we don't take into account the order we have provided the promises. Instead, we return the promises as they resolve, which is not what promise.all does. So that's what I want to highlight in this video, the other bug, which also relates to, once again, how tasks are added to Microtask Queue and how promises resolve. And in the next video, or in the next part, I would like to highlight or I would like to go through how I would actually change the implementation and of course the test. So I will see you in the next one.